السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طلبت جزء ثاني وتكملة لقصة الوالد. نحن باقي لنا أقل من 24 ساعة لنرجع لأمريكا، وكيف ما أرد على الكومنتات اللي ما شاء الله تبارك الله ما قصرت فيها. So I'm with Dad. You ready for part 2?
You bet. السلام عليكم.
مؤمن مشرفنا أكيد. طبعا الوالد دائما معودنا قبل ما نسافر إنه ياخذنا المحل فطور أمريكي. What happened to Middle Eastern food?
Well, I like both. Sorry.
كثير منكم سألني في المقطع والتعليقات، محمد ليه مسمي المقطع من لاس فيغاس إلى الصحراء العربية؟ And a lot of people want to know is that why did we call the video from Las Vegas? What's that about?
Yes, the reason is that the last place I lived before I came to Saudi Arabia was Las Vegas, which is surrounded by a desert also. So from one desert to the other. You see, the first part of the video, I only gave some very general points about my story. I'd like to give a few more details. So you see, it's very interesting that, of course, guidance is, we all know, from Allah, but there were certain people that Allah put in my way, and it's interesting that they fall into two groups, and they were Saudis and Americans.
Oh, wow.
And so after arriving a short time and getting settled into my job, I kept reading and looking for the truth. And as I mentioned before, that I did study a little bit about Buddhism and Hinduism, but also I had some books on philosophy. And it's very interesting that one of the points that was mentioned in one of these philosophy books is you will never find the truth until you make sincere repentance to God, to our Creator. And I thought about that, and I sat back in my chair, and I said, you know, I've never really made sincere repentance to God ever in my life. So I started remembering people that I had wronged and things that I had done, and it was a very emotional experience. I wasn't crying, but tears were coming down my cheeks, and it's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that, because shortly after that he started guiding certain people, the Saudis and the Americans, and putting them in my way to guide me step by step to Islam. Another example, an example of that is when I was told the following point, that when you think about the message from Allah to His creation about believing in His oneness, worshiping Him, I heard something very interesting. It said that the testimony of faith has always been very similar. It's to believe in one God, worship Him, and follow the Prophet at that time. And so, for example, the Shahada, as we know in Arabic, would have been, for example, at the time of Noah, La ilaha illallah, Noah Rasulullah. And then another example would be La ilaha illallah, Ibrahim Rasulullah. And so you keep going throughout the succession of prophets and messengers. And of course, the last prophet and messenger was Muhammad, so we have the Shahada, which is the testimony of faith. So that made me realize the continuity of belief. So it somehow logically made it easier to become a Muslim. Another point to mention was the fact that if you want to become a Muslim and you're a Christian, the example I was given is very interesting, that it's like buying a new suit, you know, the jacket and the pants. And let's say that you buy that suit and it's too big. So normally you wouldn't just throw that suit away. You would take it to a tailor and get alterations so that it fits properly. And so I was told that when you're a Christian and you want to become a Muslim, you simply make alterations to your belief, and you bring some of the accepted practices with you to Islam. For example, the belief in revelation, the belief in the prophets and messengers, and many other, the belief in judgment day and heaven and hell. So you would bring those with you to Islam, of course, but making some changes. So again, it was shown to me that making that transition from Christianity to Islam was basically an update. Just like you update software, you update your religion. It's not a completely new thing. So these 2 points made it much easier for me. Another thing that was, I would say, very spiritual was that I was with my Saudi friend, whose name, by the way, is Abu Hussein, and his friend, Abu Fahad, and we would be, for example, traveling somewhere. We frequently went to Dammam and Khobar from Jubail, and it would be time for Salah, so they would pull over on the road, and as you know, that's a desert between Jubail and the Dammam area, and so they would pray and say, well, come on, join us, pray with us. And another time in one of their houses, and I remember that, especially the first time, I said, well, what do I do? And they said, just follow us. Don't worry about anything. Just follow our movements. And when your head is on the ground, in other words, in sujood, just ask for forgiveness and ask for guidance. Those 2 things. So, I was doing the movements and everything, but I remember when I put my head on the carpet and also on the sand when we were in the desert, that it was just an incredible feeling of peace.
So your first sujood was as a non-Muslim?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they said, we're not waiting for Don to become a Muslim. Let's let him experience the Salah, so that's what happened. And after we made the taslim, I just felt so peaceful, and I was expressing my feelings to them. He said, yes, this is your connection to your Creator.
Wow.
Allahu Akbar. So I wanted to mention those few points. There still are many more details. I just want you to know that this was like a 13-year journey, from being, from a teenager to my early 30s, maybe even more than 13 years. So we'll leave it at that for now. And I believe that there were some questions from some of the viewers, so perhaps we can answer some of those questions.
One of the questions is, you've lived in the Middle East, generally for more than 20 years. How is your Arabic? How did you communicate with people? Was it easy? Was it hard? Do you speak Arabic? What's happening? What's the situation?
Well, if you recall in the first part, I mentioned that I lived in Abu Dhabi for 2 years.
Yes.
So when I came to Saudi Arabia, I wasn't a complete dummy in Arabic. I had maybe, let's say, 50 words that I knew. And also, as an English teacher, I just want to insert one point. What was my strategy in learning Arabic? And one of the things that I did is I learned opposite words, like hot and cold, expensive, cheap, so that helped me quite a bit. Also, in most grammar books, in the back of the book, there's a list of the verbs, the irregular verbs. So I had someone translate those verbs, and I memorized the present tense, past tense, and future tense. So with those vocabulary words and memorizing that verb sheet, I was able to function at a basic level. And also I do want to mention that I think it's well known that in the Eastern Province, English is pretty predominant. So I didn't really have any problems. The problems came when I arrived to Medina. Because as you know, in Medina, the second language is not really English. It's another language. So in Medina, I did face some problems. but I did have the opportunity that I didn't have in Jubail to study Arabic. There are programs in Medina for non-native speakers to study, and so that's what I
على
did.
فكرة أبوه يعرف القواعد والنحو والصرف أحسن مننا كلنا. يعني كنا في أيام المتوسط الثانوي يجي الإعراب الأم عطوفا محمد how do you not know this? This is so easy. يعني سبحان الله. One of the questions also was, how was your first time, dealing with Ramadan, just Ramadan itself? It's tough for Muslims, imagine for non-Muslims.
Yes, I remember that when I became a Muslim, it was only 2 weeks later, it was Ramadan.
Yeah, Habibi.
Yeah, so obviously I became a Muslim at the end of Sha'ban. And, again, I got fantastic counseling from Abu Hussein. He said, look, you can do this. Kids, young, 9, 10, 11, 12, if they can do it, you can do it. Just have faith, Bismillah, have the intention, you're doing this for the sake of Allah, and keep yourself, he said, I recommend you keep yourself busy. So that's what I did, and Allah made it easy. I didn't really face any difficulties.
So this Abu Hussein is something else.
He was, I don't know.
Such a diplomat,
yeah. I have something to say about him later.
Yeah, inshallah. Okay. So how about the heat?
Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared me for all of this because, as I mentioned, I lived in Texas and we had the same weather that we've got here in Medina, hot and dry. Also, Las Vegas is exactly the same weather as Medina. And I lived in Texas for 11 years and in Las Vegas 3 years, so 14 years of preparation for this hot weather. I was ready. Yeah. No problem.
So after you became a Muslim, you had your first Ramadan. Who were you getting your knowledge about the deen from? Were you reading books? Were you watching videos? What was your strategy?
MashaAllah, there was a group of mostly American Muslims who were new and some other nationalities. Yeah. And another Saudi brother Khalid, mashallah, he established this halaqah, right, a group, and his purpose was to teach new Muslims the basics of Islam. Mashallah. And so we had what back then was a Monday night meeting after Isha, and he would just go from at the very beginning, talking about Tawheed and Tahara and Salah, and we would memorize the short surahs and talk about the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And fortunately, I attended these lectures for 4 years, so that when I arrived to Medina, I had a pretty good foundation. And then obviously, with all the knowledge in Medina, I built upon that since I've been here.
So one guy was asking, how would you express your feeling for the first time seeing the Kaaba?
Yes, that was truly amazing. It was a feeling, kind of two feelings at the same time, a feeling of shock and a feeling of total peace. And I would like to add to that when I actually stepped on the Sahan, I felt this like electricity going through my body. Wow. And then, there's something magical obviously about doing the tawaf, and then the rakatain after the Kaaba, also putting your forehead, making the sujood. Yeah. Incredible feeling. As a matter of fact, when I arrived back to Jubail, I felt that feeling for 2 or 3 days after that. It wouldn't go away, alhamdulillah. No.
So following with that, why Medina itself? Like a lot of people are asking, Medina, there's better possibilities in Riyadh, Dammam, Khubar. Medina, it's a small city. Why did you pick that city?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. As I mentioned, we studied Islam for 4 years, and as I gained knowledge, I realized, well, as a Muslim, it is better if you can to get closer to the Harimain wa Sharifain in Medina and Mecca, or Mecca and Medina. And so I thought, well, let's see. as an English teacher, you know, it's kind of like a tabib, you know, it's somehow easy to get a job wherever you are, because that kind of job is needed. So I thought, well, let me do a little research. Do they have a college or a university in Medina? And I found out, yes, they have a branch of King Abdulaziz University called Kulliyat al-Tarbiyah in Medina, and again a Saudi American connection, right? Yeah. Another Saudi friend, his name is Jamil, said, yes, my wife's brother is a student. Let me see if I can get you the contact information for the English language department. And so I did connect with them, sent them my CV, and alhamdulillah, I came out here for an interview and they accepted me, alhamdulillah. So we had to go back to America, get a new visa, and then we came to Medina. And that was when you were 2.5 years old.
So for people asking, what's your occupation? You were mentioning that, you know, you're a professor.
No, just teaching English in the English department.
So for your bachelor's, you got...
Yes, my educational background is a bachelor's degree in Latin American studies with a minor in business, because I intended actually to work for an American company in Latin America, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a different plan for me, alhamdulillah. So after working in sales and marketing 2 years, I started teaching, and that's when I got the job in Abu Dhabi. I liked it so much that I did a master's degree in teaching English, and then that's when I arrived here to Saudi Arabia, alhamdulillah.
Are there things here that make you like miss home? Because you've been living here for a long time now. You're like, man, I miss this about the U.S. Like, what are the things that are...
no doubt, I miss my family.
But you do visit.
Yes, we are in touch. But my family, also, I have to admit, I do miss some of my food, you know. I do like Middle Eastern food, as I mentioned before, kibsa and Syrian food also, mashallah. So mostly that, but I have become so used to the life here that, you know, it doesn't bother me not to go back home for, you know, 2, 3, even 4 years one time.
Yeah.
You know, so so I'm perfectly comfortable here. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
So one guy was asking, why did you decide to put your kids in Arabic medium schools rather than putting them, you know, in an English medium school? Like, what was your, you know, your plan?
Well, because of the struggle that I had and I'm still having, learning Arabic and being able to understand the Quran and Hadith and just operate in a good way in society, I said, my boys are going to study Arabic, you know. And the English will come. It's a much easier language to learn than Arabic. And so, and also, I learned that, you know, the Arabic language, let's face it, is the key to understanding our deen. So that was my decision. And it's interesting that I asked you many years later, probably only 2-3 years ago, Muhammad, did I make the right decision in having you educated in Arabic? And what was your reply?
I was like, 100%. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Mashallah.
So what would you conclude to our viewers? I know the video was long, but, you know, it's really interesting. And what would you say to conclude this video? I know you have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah. There's still so much to say, but I do want to mention this. I have seen some Muslims have a feeling in their mind and in their heart like the non-Muslim is like a dirty person. He's, you know, in other words, they might say, "A'udhu billah, huwa min al-kufar." You know, I mean, and please understand that this is not the right approach. Look at Abu Hussein and those around him. They treated me like family. They cared for me. They guided me and because of that, of course, Allah is the one who guides, but because of their treatment, they gave me the dawah of action. And it was so, yani, touching, really.
Yeah.
Give the non-Muslim show him the best example of Islam, and you will see miracles, and I'm an example of that. Jazakumullah.
عارف النهاية كانت شوية مؤثرة صراحة، يعني الأحاسيس اللي كانت قاعدة تطلع من الوالد، وأنا صراحة كمان يعني كنت قاعد أحاول من ناحية إنه محمد تلك نفسك ما عندك مشكلة، بس صراحة ما قدرت. وإن شاء الله يعني يوصل لكم ولو جزء من الإحساس الصغير اللي أنا حسيت فيه، وطبعا المشاعر اللي كانت قاعدة تمر في عقل أبويا والأحاسيس هذه. وسبحان الله يعني دائما، يعني قبل ما أقول لكم الشيء هذا أقوله لنفسي، إنه أنا دائما لما أجي، يعني بني آدمين نحن ما في أحد فينا كامل، لما أجي أخطئ في شيء، لما ودي أسوي شيء غلط، دائما أفتكر كلام الوالد. ليه؟ لأنه أحسه كافح من أجلنا، فاهم كيف؟ شوفوا إيش قال من ناحية إنه ليه حط أولاده في مدارس عربية، إنه ما يبغى يكونوا زيه من ناحية الكفاح في اللغة العربية، إنه لازم يتعلم ولازم مع الناس يتعب شوي، يبغى أولاده يطلعوا إنه معتمدين على نفسهم. فإن شاء الله عجبكم الفيديو. أعرف ما حد قصروا معي في الدعم، نبغى نوصل الفيديو هذا لأكبر عدد يا جماعة، بدون ما حتى أقول لكم ننشر للمسلمين لغير المسلمين. لازم نبدأ نحس كذا شويتين، ولا كيف؟ أنا عارف إنه أنتم معي في نفس الصفحة. فيعطيكم العافية. الوقت اللي حينزل فيه هذا الفيديو بإذن الله نحن حنكون في لندن، إلى طريقنا إلى أمريكا بإذن الله. إن شاء الله يجي اليوم اللي أصور مقاطع مع الوالد إلين ما تقولوا خلاص غير. يعطيكم العافية guys. Love you to the moon and back. السلام عليكم flood family.